Brendan Howlin, please.
Taoiseach, as you are aware, my colleague Alan Kelly has been raising questions of fundamental importance to the Minister for Justice over the last week. Indeed, Deputy Martin and others put some of these questions to you yesterday at Leaders' Questions. I think it's unfortunate that the Minister failed to make clear in his responses to those parliamentary questions that neither he nor his predecessor had knowledge or were aware of the legal strategy being pursued by the former Garda Commissioner against Maurice McCabe, but that you were able to do so yesterday, when asked in this House and subsequently by the media, shows that it was possible to answer these questions. I can't see any legitimate reason for the Minister not to have done so. So while clarity has been brought to that aspect of the situation, we're still unclear as to the level of involvement or knowledge of the Department of Justice in this strategy. You said in this House yesterday, Taoiseach, that the Department of Justice and Equality is a big place, that many different people are in it, but as things stand, the Department has not been able to find any record of being informed before the fact of the legal strategy the former Commissioner was going to pursue. I'd like you to confirm today whether you've spoken directly to the Secretary-General of the Department on this matter. And are you satisfied that the absence of sufficient reassurance for you to confirm to the House that the Department was not aware of the strategy to, quote, go after Maurice McCabe? Yesterday you said that the Taoiseach found out about it after the fact, but around the same time it was in the public domain when everybody else knew about it, end quote. Now, this matter only came into the public domain when it was reported on by Mick Clifford and Katie Hannon after the Commission itself had reported in May of 2016, a full year after the strategy to go after Maurice McCabe was set out by the Commission. For it to be true, the Taoiseach did not become aware of this until the time when it was in the public domain. We must believe two things. Either this House is expected to believe that the Department of Justice didn't receive any contact from Garda management about this, even long after the strategy had been dropped, or we're expected to believe that the Department actually had this information but sat on it without informing the Minister, the Taoiseach, for an entire year. Which is it, Taoiseach?
Before I call the Taoiseach to respond to that particular matter, can I just say that standing orders are fairly explicit on these matters, wherein we're dealing with a subject matter that is the subject of court consideration or a judicial tribunal. And the standing order effectively says a matter shall not be raised in such a manner that it appears to be an attempt by the Dáil to encroach on the functions of the court or a judicial tribunal. Now, my predecessors have ruled on this issue in the past and in certain circumstances have allowed questions on a particular matter, matters which were being examined by judicial tribunals, and these were allowed in a context where there was considered to be a public interest in having a limited engagement on certain matters, whilst having regard to the fact that we should not encroach on the activities and work of the tribunal. So we need to be exceedingly careful here that we do not undermine a tribunal that we ourselves have established. Taoiseach.
Thanks very much, Cancora, and I'll bear in mind your comments in my remarks. I have spoken to the Taoiseach, I have spoken to the Minister for Justice. I haven't spoken directly to the Secretary-General of the Department of Justice. The information I have, and I believe it, is that the Taoiseach had no hand, act or part in determining the legal strategy of the former Commissioner, and she had no prior knowledge of the legal strategy pursued by the former Commissioner. I'm also informed by the Department of Justice that the Department of Justice was only told about the approach taken by the Commissioner's senior counsel after the cross-examination had already taken place, and as they were only informed after the fact, they certainly weren't in a position to express any reservations about the legal strategy taking place. Now, this issue has been going back and forth now for a couple of days. I've seen articles in the paper Letters have been exchanged. There have been PQs put down and answered. And there have been a lot of briefings going around as well to the effect that there is some allegation here that is explosive. I've heard one briefing suggesting an allegation so explosive that it might bring down the government. I think at this stage, if the Labour Party has an allegation to make, they should either make it here and make it very clearly so that we can respond to it, or if they're not willing to do that, well then they should give any evidence they have to the tribunal.
On a point of order, Count Gordon.
It's unusual, but I'll hear it, yes.
A point of order. Having regard to the fact that the person asking the question made specific reference to me, I will ask you, Count Corley, for protection in this House. I will not have my good name and my professional reputation traduced by Deputy Alan Kelly, both inside this House and outside. If there are matters for the tribunal, and I make this with regard to a point of order, if there are matters germane to the tribunal, that's the place for it. But I would ask Deputy Kelly now to desist from engaging in a smear campaign against me personally and professionally.
Well, Deputy Kelly hasn't said anything here in my hearing. Deputy Howlin, please. We'll try and protect everyone.
Concorda,
Please.
I'm here some time, and I recall tribunals of inquiry where the findings were if people answered questions in this House, will save the state millions and time. It's our job to ask straightforward questions and hold ministers to account. That's our job. And I have no accusation to make against anybody. I just want the truth. And my question is a very simple one. No. Quite the reverse. I fully accepted the statement made finally by the Taoiseach yesterday, that neither the current minister or the former minister. I accepted that. I said, now we have clarity on that fact. If the question is the state of knowledge of the...
Did it suit Deputy Kelly's agenda?
How long are you going to allow this, Count Corley?
It's Deputy Kelly's agenda.
No, you can't continuously interrupt, Minister, please.
The question I'm trying to pursue, Count Corley, is the state of knowledge of the Department of Justice. The Taoiseach has told the House that the Department of Justice were aware of the strategy after the cross-examination of Sergeant McCabe. That took place in May of 2015. He told the House yesterday that the Taoiseach wasn't aware of this until it came into the public domain, which was a full year later, in May of 2016. So, just for clarity, is the Taoiseach telling the House that the strategy was kept from the Taoiseach and Minister for Justice for a full year by her officials?
Thank you, Deputy Taoiseach.
I welcome the fact that Deputy Howlin has clarified that he's not making any allegation against anyone in this House, and I accept the Labour Party's. I'm very pleased to hear that clarification, that Deputy Howlin, the leader of the Labour Party, on behalf of the Labour Party, is saying that neither he nor the Labour Party is making any allegation against anyone in this House or outside this House. I think that at least puts into perspective this story. No allegation is being made against anyone. The answer I've given you is the answer that has been given to me. I spoke to the Taoiseach. She told me that she had no hand, act or part in this decision, that she was not aware of it until after the fact, until around the time that it entered the public domain. The Department of Justice has said to me that they were not made aware of it until after the fact. But the Department of Justice is a big place. It's not a person. It's a person. It's a body that has hundreds of staff. And can I put my hand on my heart here and say that there isn't one person somewhere who might have been told something by someone? I can't give you that answer. But what I have been told is that the department was not made aware of it until after the fact, and the Taoiseach did not become aware of it herself until around the time it entered the public domain.
Thank you very much, Deputy.
I'm answering questions as best as I can.
Yes.
It's very hard to answer questions for third parties or unnamed parties.
Well, I think we take it that everybody here acts in the best faith that they can. Exactly. Yes. No, please. Please, Minister, can you please contain yourself? Deputy Eamon Ryan, please, to bring some calm to matters.
Cancorla, what I bring is news of shame to our country. I don't know if that's calm, but there is a report just being published, the Climate Change Performance Index. It's done by the leading top NGOs in this issue across the world. It's a regular, it's been running for a long time. And in it, today, we found out that now Ireland is seen as the worst country in Europe in climate action and the 49th of the 60 countries that they assess.